Akhetaten's Gates, Chapter 6. The remainder of my year was rather solemn. I excelled in my studies at home. It was very easy to grasp all the concepts when Darla and Bernard brought them up. It was a thrilling experience, but I knew the tension between me and this family I'd come to love was present. We all tried to cover it with denial, but we all knew it was there. But we all still loved one another. That point was always quite clear. But the results were inevitable. I was rather withdrawn, focusing on my studies, my passion, and nothing else. I was always worried about embarrassing them with another of my strange outbursts, so I avoided the opportunities. I could feel my very life's essence draining away. I knew that didn't make our situation any better, but I just couldn't feel the light anymore. It was uplifting to finally return to Egypt. As we had for the last 4 years, we visited the pyramids, the Sphinx at Giza, and visited the Cairo Museum. Looking into the faces of old mummies of Ramses the Great and other historical dead of the kingdom long gone, I felt as though I was coming back to old relatives that I missed so dearly. People were in awe and intimidated, if not even completely frightened by the mummies and the frightening positions they had forever been frozen into. But not me. I felt a complete ease, like I had been holding my breath all year. But this was the biggest thrill. From Cairo, we met our excavation team and made our way to our site after a brief night of rest. I really wasn't sure what to expect out of Amarna. I suppose I thought it would be like all the other sites we visited over the years. But once we arrived, I felt a heavy disappointment. It was empty. I mean, it wasn't even an ancient ghost town. It was just sand. Where a city was supposed to be, it was nothing but sand. But there were some plots already prepared. But without them, I would have never believed this place would have once been a city. There was no life at all in this desolate area. It was just a vast, hot emptiness. Who would ever think to live in a place like this? I heard myself mutter. Don't be so hasty to judge, Bernard chuckled, messing my hair. It may look like nothing now, but 3,000 years ago, this place looked very different. Remember, back then the Nile was not dammed. So way over there was a little greener than it is now. Even over there is over there, Bernard, I remarked. It was still desert. Yes, but this is just an old dusty cover. Deep beneath are all the pages full of history. It looks like a lot of the pages have been torn out, came my reply. He saddened a little. Well, I'm afraid, my dear Aurora, that is exactly what happened through the many centuries past. Page by page, this book was destroyed. But it is the job of an Egyptologist to find those pages, even if there isn't a lot of the page left, and put it back together, and put together what we can to try and put the story back together again. I finally had to smile. So, do you think I can find a page of history? Find a page, Aurora, and you may become a page in the ongoing world of history. That is something I think every archaeologist dreams of. Then I shall dream it too, I smiled, giving him a big thumbs up. He messed my hair again, walking on ahead to help unload and set up the heavy equipment. I grew into a frown again, looking around as the wind flew through, pushing around some sand in my hair. I glanced into the distance to see a strange formation in the cliffs. It resembled a hieroglyph, and it immediately impressed me. Akhet, I sighed. Akhet was an ancient Egyptian word that meant horizon, and this formation looked so much like it. I held out my hand, extended only my index finger to go over the horizon's outline. It was fascinating. I whispered once more, Akhet. I sat on the edge of the dig, watching the archaeologists in the holes, digging up mostly dirt with their sophisticated tools. Most people could hardly call these tools, though. They were brushes, the size of mere toothbrushes, and many times softer. After all, history was delicate. But I assure you, unearthing something this way took a very long time. And even then, this place offered no real treasures. At best, a few pieces of broken pottery, but nothing really unusual or fantastic. But this was just one day out of the several that we would be digging in this place, right? We had plenty of time to find something. And who knew? Perhaps even I'd get to help. And like the cartouche stamp, I would find something really cool in these sands. And that way, perhaps archaeology was like fishing. you can find a really nice catch. But most of the time, you're just waiting around for a nibble. The evening came, the traditional primitive barbecue. We all sat about our little campsite, fired up a camp-style barbecue and roasted marshmallows. Of course, we had the traditional foods as well. Gee, what cookout wasn't complete with weenies on a stick? It was at that time all the members of the team could get to know each other, either once again or for the first time. They would all laugh about things they did during the off-season, or favorite adventures and finds. I couldn't really offer too much input during these conversations. I wasn't an archaeologist. I simply pretended to be one at times. But one would think a child my age would grow bored at some point. On the contrary, I was very interested. I might not have known everything they were discussing, but I made it a point to ask and learn. That was what the scientific and intelligent people did, right? But a young person that had been out in the field all day would soon grow tired. And my drowsiness had not gone unnoticed by the other team members. I could hear them snickering and muttering to each other. Ha! The fools! Did they not think I could hear them teasing me in plain sight? Warm nights like this sure can make a person sleepy, Drake chuckled. He was a young archaeologist that had been out in the last 3 digs. He was, sadly, the closest to my age, which didn't say much since he graduated college only 5 years prior. So he was kind of like a big brother that I never had, and only barely wanted. I guess, I sighed. So go to sleep. We want to talk about the big kid stuff. He held his hand just above my head. And you gotta be this high to hear the big kid stuff. Drake, Darla chuckled, the only kid here is you. Touché, he whined, before growing a big smile. But he does have a point, Bernard chimed in. Aurora should get some sleep before she falls over. That will only make them tease harder. Can I push him into one of the holes? I said in a groggy voice. This got a round of laughter. Drake bopped me upside the back of the head, gently. You have to sleep sometime, Squirt. And when that happens, I might just throw you in a hole. Nobody is throwing anybody into any holes, Bernard insisted. Go ahead to bed, Aurora. You can help us on the dig tomorrow if you get enough rest. I whined, before finally giving in with a yawn. That was it. I was defeated. I was tired. So up I got and trudged to my tent. I was no sooner on my cot than my eyes shut, and out I went like a light. And little did I know, this would be my last night with this sort of life.